All right, Mark, thanks very much. A minute gone by here, tied at 2. Here's Anthony Peeler from Minnesota. It rattles out, and Danny Ferry with the rebound for San Antonio. Each of the first 2 playoff games on NBC today, down to the last possession.
Well, Bob, that puts all the pressure on us.
Or on these 2 teams, the 8th-seeded T-Wolves and the number 1 seed in the entire league, the Spurs. Anderson hands to Duncan, and it spins home.
Well, Tim Duncan has got 2 inside opportunities early, and that is not a good sign for the defense of the Timberwolves. They want to try to keep Duncan further out on the perimeter. Peeler.
From Brandon, can't finish. Dean Garrett has it blocked cleanly. Peeler will try. 3 cracks at it, and finally Duncan clears it for San Antonio. It's Tim Duncan 6 and Minnesota 2.
And part of the Timberwolves strategy was to trap, to try to get you the ball early, and yet one of his scoring opportunities, and that's not the kind of defensive attitude they wanted to have. Porter gets called for the foul.
The officials are Jack Neese, Mark Wunderlich, and Ron Garrettson, and Neese whistles the game's first foul.
You know, the Timberwolves are a jump shooting basketball team. They feel that they can make shots, and they've got to get break opportunities, which means that they've got to be able to get to the ball when it changes in.
Look at Terrell Brandon with the blue shoes. I don't know if they're blue suede. It hasn't hurt his range on his jumper.
Patton.
He has both of their baskets. Look at those shoes. Look like he might have gotten them from George Jetson. They're space age. Robinson muscles inside and draws the foul.
This is a guy that they want to get involved in the game. In the 4-game series so far, David Robinson has not played up to David Robinson's ability. So right away, they come back on the other side to him, and the size of Robinson and Duncan, that's going to create the issue as this series goes along. How do they neutralize it? You see Robinson's numbers, not good against Minnesota.
The foul was on Dean Garrett. LaFonso Ellis, Rasho Nesterovic, and Reggie Slater will also take a crack at it in the middle today for Minnesota. They'll use all 4 of them. Brandon loses Porter. The rebound to Ferry.
Now, the 2 things that Minnesota must see: Brandon making shots from the outside, and eventually Garnett getting in. Anderson lost control of it. Should have been a travel.
And eventually, that's what they call.
A long travel by Derek Anderson, and this is a guy that has really attacked and hurt the Timberwolves, but right there, he's lost it twice, gets it back. Oh, well, get one more walk.
Garnett in traffic, hits his first shot.
They have been going at each other since, you know, they've been in the league, and they know each other well, and they know they can't allow one another to get that deep without bad things happening.
Porter got it back. At age 38, still in search of his first championship ring. To the finals twice with Portland in the early 90s, but no title. Duncan. He's got 8.
When Duncan gets off to these kinds of starts, San Antonio is real rough to handle.
Garnett leans in on Duncan and scores. The Timberwolves have made the playoffs each of the 4 preceding seasons, and each time they've gone out in the first round. And here they're the 8th seed against the number 1 seed, but they have the best record of any 8th seed in the history of the NBA. They won 47 games. Duncan hits it, plus he'll come to the line, and he's 5 for 5.
Flips, well, you know, Kevin Garnett really just powers his way in to get this hoop and get his second bucket in a row, but it is Duncan who's on fire. Flip Saunders, no, they got some hoses up there on the 3rd level, Bob. They need to use them to cool off Duncan, and we'll see how he goes with the line.
Foul was on Garnett, his first.
Foul him. There it is right there. You just foul him. He's not going to make any of those free throws.
He shot only 62% from the line for the year after hitting 76% a season ago. But he did shoot them better in the season's last few weeks. They got it inside to Garrett, and the former Indiana Hoosier scores.
Again, what the Minnesota Timberwolves want to do is keep the game close early. They feel that they can play with them. They've had some close game. Anderson.
Garnett got a piece of it, and a whistle off the rebound. Anderson came up empty there, but the play illustrates the dimension he's given Greg Popovich. A slashing presence in the backcourt, something they haven't had for a long time.
And not only is it slashing, but it's quick. So, you know, he can get in there very quickly. He can jump over people. He's very explosive. Yet to really get started. Garrett out of the ball game. Nesterovic in.
Garrett sits after committing his second foul. Spurs by 2. We played almost 5 minutes. And that pass goes astray.
Duncan said it's his fault, but whenever the ball goes out of bounds, it's always the problem of the guy that threw it. So Derek Anderson takes the responsibility.
4th San Antonio turnover. The Timberwolves don't have one yet. To Nesterovic. Great pass. Nesterovic fumbled it, but recovered and scored to tie the game.
That was right on the money. Might have been too big, and Greg Popovich wants to tie.
Weeks, not just for the playoffs, but for our coverage of the Kentucky Derby. We wish him well.
Well, all right, cool hand, Luke. You're going to have to sweat this afternoon because we got a tight ball game, and we'll see just how much you got in you, but it's going to be a good one.
San Antonio's 5th turnover.
You know, San Antonio is not a high turnover team, and it hasn't been the defensive energy of the Timberwolves that's created it.
Brandon comes off the screen, gets into the lane, finds Nesterovic, and Robinson says, get it out of here. The Admiral. Shot it long. Garnett takes it.
Well, you can see Brandon is having his way out there right now. He's able to get his own shot, get down the middle, set other people up. They've got to shut him down. Zerbiak misses his first shot. David Robinson has been the anchor of this franchise a long time, and when they introduced the team, he got the loudest ovation. One of the reasons is his ability to do just that, deny the opponent high percentage shot.
The crowd here at the Alamo Dome is really amped. One spins out. The Spurs led the league in average attendance during the regular season. A double dribble is called against Terrell Brandon. First Minnesota turnover, and the Spurs have it back. The Spurs average better than 22,000 fans a game for the regular season, much more than that for the opener of the playoffs here today.
It's 30,000 plus. They're in the upper deck, and all of those seats are just about taken. So they've got a great opening day crowd, and they want to win this ball game. They don't want to be the #1 seed down a game and looking to go to Minnesota to get a win.
Here's Avery Johnson in for the first time, replacing Porter at the point. David Robinson. The expected crowd today, 34,000, and they've come ready to make some noise. That quiets them just a bit. Garnett tying the game.
We're seeing Garnett and Duncan throwing their best stuff at each other early, and they're both on the mark.
Duncan's 5 for 5. Garnett 3 for 4.
David Robinson really fighting Nesterovic, who's always had problems defending. And one of the things they're going to try to do against Nesterovic is attack him. He has trouble moving his feet. Robinson spins away to get that score, and they came right back with Kevin Garnett down in the low post, a jump hook. A thing of beauty.
The foul was on Nesterovic. A little general, Avery Johnson. His minutes down this year with the emergence of Porter as the starter. Goes to the right hand and misses the runner.
You know, in talking to Kevin Garnett yesterday, what he said, one, we got to make shots, but we got to pick up our energy. Everybody's got to pick up the energy. It just can't be me. It just can't be Terrell. Everybody's got to play as if there is no tomorrow. Nesterovic, another foul.
So he's quickly hit with 2. And that's going to bring Reggie Slater off the bench, the third different pivot man used by Flip Saunders. and we played less than 8 minutes. Sean Elliott comes in for the first time now, replacing Danny Ferry.
Was Danny Ferry out there?
He hasn't made his presence felt yet. I think he had a rebound earlier. Robinson misses, and folks, you can log on to NBA.com after each playoff game for live coverage of the post-game press conferences, and send in your questions to the NBA.commentators, including New York's Mark Jackson and Dallas's Steve Nash, all at NBA.com.
The reason Danny Ferry went out the game is a little bit quicker than Greg Popovich thought it was going to be. They have not been able to get him set, so he wants to get his matchups good. Zerbiak is a guy that he has to be concerned about, and Wally strikes for his first two for the afternoon.
Zerbiak hits 51% of his shots from the floor. Very impressive for a guy who plays much of the time out on the perimeter.
He is a great stick, and they give him chances. A steal, which he shouldn't. Garnett didn't get it, and they pay the price.
Duncan now 6 for 6. The only shot he's missed today was from the foul line, and he'll be there again with a chance for a three-point play.
And Garnett is telling Anthony Peeler, my fault, my bad, but you cannot gamble and leave the bucket open with a player like Tim Duncan, who can take one big dribble and play over the top. See if the shoulder shrug works. You know, that was his latest relaxing thing.
There it is. Worked that time. He's got 13. Robinson has 5. They have all of the Spurs points.
And Robinson is on the bench, and they bring in Malik Rose. Garnett
couldn't finish it. Had a little trouble controlling. Ball out of bounds to Minnesota.
You understand why the head of Garnett is glistening with efforts like these. I mean, he is above the rim, just hit the back iron. They'd love to have that play again. Mismatch Avery Johnson against Zerbiak, trying to get Zerbiak the ball.
Which they do, and he converts.
Yesterday, Flip Saunders told us we got to make shots. They're making shots. And they've got to continue to make them the entire game because they're a jump shooting team.
Duncan from Malik Rose, who's in for the first time. Garnett rejects it, but Duncan stays with it. Huge first period for Duncan. He's got 15. Anthony Peeler in traffic. Zerbiak circles back out. And a whistle that could barely be heard above the din of this crowd. The foul is on Sean Elliott, his first.
Elliott not happy with the call, and they had him under control, and that's probably the reason for it. No shots will be taken. Again, they got the mismatch. Zerbiak against Avery Johnson. Should just be able to turn and shoot over him. Avery fouls.
Count the basket and bring Zerbiak to the line. He hit, as we mentioned, 51% from the floor this year, 5th best in the NBA. And the 4 guys ahead of him play mostly inside for time. Zerbiak trying to finish a three-point play.
Has a huge advantage, and let's see if they continue to keep the mismatch the way it is. Felipe Lopez is in the ball game, but they will go to that every time down as long as Avery Johnson is guarding Wally Zerbiak.
Sean Elliott's pass hit the side of the backboard, and San Antonio gives it up again. Flip Saunders rather brashly said he doesn't just expect his team to be competitive in this series, he expects them to win it. Before the season, he said, we can't settle for just making the playoffs. We've got to go deeper. Knocked out in the first round each of the last 4 years. But 47 wins was only good enough for the 8th seed in the loaded Western Conference. Reggie Slater comes stampeding through, and although the basket dropped, he also dropped a couple of Spurs, and that's a charge.
Yeah, that's a big man, and whoever stood in the way, give him a big pop on the chest for courage, because Derek Anderson lost his mind standing in front of a big guy like that, but they get the call.
No false sense of confidence here for Greg Popovich and the Spurs. Popovich watched his buddy Larry Brown, for whom he was an assistant coach here in San Antonio, drop a heartbreaker at home earlier today in Philadelphia. The 1-seeded 76ers losing to the 8-seeded Pacers on Reggie Miller's jumper, a three-pointer, with under 3 seconds to go. Felipe Lopez. And finally it bounces over to Avery Johnson.
San Antonio is not a great transition team. They're not going to get a lot of obvious breaks. Their steal.
Malik Rose lost it. Rose is down on the floor, not hurt, just arguing his case that he was fouled. Now he rejoins the action. Reggie Slater's pass inside finds Felipe Lopez, but a foul.
Well, Felipe Lopez and Rose get tangled up at the other end of the floor, and Rose is not going to let him get up. A little tag team and a little knee in the back, and then they go the other way. And quickly getting back and getting an open pass, Felipe Lopez. This guy has been a huge find for the Timberwolves. Since he was released by Vancouver, this guy's given him that energy, that hustle play that was missing.
Here's LaFonso Ellis, the former Notre Dame star, who only a few years ago averaged 22 points a game for Denver. Has had to battle through injuries since then. And with a minute and a half to play in the first, he gives Kevin Garnett a breather here.
Yeah, Garnett was starting to be a little winded and had to get out of the ball game. But LaFonso Ellis has been another one of those pickups off of the scrap heap, and a guy that has more than filled the role of the missing Joe Smith. Maybe even be a better player for them all around than Joe Smith had been.
Malik Rose. He's improved that jump shot. His game used to be just defense and hitting the offensive glass. But if you leave him that much daylight, he'll accept the challenge and pop the J as he did there. Terrell Brandon, way short. Anderson has it.
Here's a guy they've been able to keep under control, dancing away from Lopez.
Duncan. And a foul as he pulled down the offensive rebound. Derek Anderson missed again there, but generally during the regular season, he's been very effective against Minnesota.
Well, he has been their quick strike guy. You know, he's quick in terms of getting down the floor, getting to the basket, making the open opportunity. This is his first playoff game, so, you know, he may be a little bit too amped up. And it may take a quarter in order for him to get into it.
High roll for Tim Duncan. Down to 62% this year after improving, especially between 99 and 2000, every previous season.
With Duncan, it's mostly mental. And, you know, he'll miss one, make one, and he's not sure what he's doing wrong on either one, rather than go back to just his technique and his mechanics.
Spurs by 1, inside 40 seconds. Sam Mitchell, the veteran, was fouled. At the other end, the foul that sent Duncan to the free throw line was number 2 on Reggie Slater. They've used 3 centers, Garrett, Nesterovic, and Slater, in this first period, and all of them now have 2 fouls.
Well, they plan on using them all. If that's what it takes to keep Duncan and Robinson under control.
Sam Mitchell, the greatly respected 37-year-old veteran, hits the first. The playoffs continue tonight on TNT. Game 1 between Charlotte and Miami from American Airlines Arena. Coverage begins at 8 Eastern. That's on TNT. The Hornets and Heat.
You know, when you talk to Fritz Saunders and you hear him say, we can beat these guys, a lot of times you say that's coach speak. You guys didn't beat them, but they're believing with 1 day of practice and resetting themselves on the things that they do well against the Spurs, they can pull off an upset. They know that a couple years ago they came in here and won a game, had a chance to change the series.
Sean Elliott. His first basket. Last 20 seconds.
Big drive by Elliott. There's a guy that needed to see the ball go in on that kind of play.
shot clock virtually identical. Felipe Lopez can't put it down. And the first period ends with the Spurs in front by 1. Tim Duncan had 16 of their 25 points. Chances to win their second NBA title in the last 3 years. They closed the season with a rush, 35-9 over the last 44 games. Along with Sacramento, they have the best home record in the league, and they have home court advantage throughout. They lead the league in three-point field goal percentage, and they're one of the best defensive teams in the league. Antonio Daniels on the turnaround that spins out.
You saw him lose that ball as Terrell Brandon went knifing by, and that's part of the Timberwolves attack, trying to make some people do some things that they don't want to do. Daniels out of rhythm, taking a quick shot. But with all the numbers that you just gave us, Bob, that would say championship. They're in a great groove, but they know they still have to win these games, and they're not going to be easy.
Sam Mitchell misses. Avery Johnson finds Daniels. And then Avery has to chase it down near midcourt. He still had the best assist to turnover ratio in the entire league, but his total assists were down because his playing time was. Sean Elliott hits the three.
Elliott has been saying he's been feeling very good about his shot, but they weren't going in the last 2 games of the season, and he comes out, hits his first drive, and follows with the three. So a good start for Sean Elliott.
Nice move by Lopez, but he couldn't finish it.
Good defense by Terrell Brandon. Avery Johnson right in front of him the entire way.
Barnett trying to contend with Duncan. Avery Johnson. They left him alone, and he made them pay. Quick start to the second quarter for San Antonio. They lead by 6, and before the crowd can get into it anymore, Flip Saunders asks for time.
Block shot by Garnett. Garnett on the other side, a pretty good start, but has not had the same kind of success trying to go now against Malik Rose.
Fade away on him. Missed it, but Rose fouled him. Chauncey Billups is in the game for the first time in the backcourt. He wears number 4 for Minnesota.
Well, this is a bigger team in the backcourt. Peeler and Billups both in the backcourt, and Zerbiak, Garnett, and LaFonso Ellis up front. A terrific season for Kevin Garnett. He has improved almost in every phase of his game with each year, and these numbers evident of really how hard he's playing and what he's contributing to the Wolves' success.
And he's also a great defender. Some think he should be the NBA's Defensive Player of the Year. He can guard almost anybody on the floor.
Yeah, in big situations, he will go out on the floor and try to take who's ever got the ball in hopes of making them give it up or make a block or a steal. Elliott.
And to work on Zerbiak. Takes him into the lane. Avery Johnson has to beat the shot clock, and it comes up short. But it's tapped outside to Antonio Daniels, and a fresh 24 for San Antonio. They lead by 5.
Popovich wanted the ball to move a little bit quicker. That's what he talked about in their timeout. They're going to get a foul against LaFonso Ellis, trying to get around in front David Robinson.
And that's 1 on Ellis. Between Duncan and Robinson, they might foul out or place in foul trouble half of Flip Saunders' roster.
Saunders has a game plan, and he is saying that, we want to make Robinson work, we want to make Duncan work, and if we end up losing guys, so be it, but we got to stay in the ball game. They cannot allow themselves to get down big here at the Alamo Dome and think they're going to have a chance. Ellis, another foul.
So all 4 big men Flip Saunders has used. Slater, Nesterovic, Garrett, and Ellis. All 4 of them now have 2 fouls.
They need to make an adjustment in terms of their defensive attitude. Now Kevin Garnett is defending against David Robinson. Let Robinson catch the ball. Let's see what he's got in his tank this afternoon. He's not the potent David Robinson that he was. He's not had great games against this team all season long.
Avery Johnson way off. And a 24-second violation. He didn't draw iron as the shot missed the rim entirely.
And, you know, the attitude of the Timberwolves becomes entirely different with David Robinson and this group out on the floor. They don't fear him the same way they fear Tim Duncan and any other guys out on the floor.
Meanwhile, while some of the T-Wolves are approaching foul trouble, neither Robinson nor Duncan has been hit with a personal yet. Garnett spins and banks it home.
That is not a good matchup. Even though Malik Rose is good at powering and playing guys underneath, Garnett too long, going to be able to get that shot away anytime he wants.
Garnett now has 9. Spurs lead sliced to 3. Robinson fakes, goes into the lane and misses. Zerbiak puts it behind the back and then pops it over Elliott short. Robinson couldn't save it. Minnesota will get it back.
And Kevin Garnett down on the low post, and he's tried to stay inside for the most part, just overpowering and then out lengthening Malik Rose for an easy 2.
Rose and Daniels out. Anderson and Duncan back in. LaFonso Ellis can't get it done, and Duncan pulls it down. The Spurs didn't score in the 2 minutes that Duncan sat. Danny Ferry getting ready to report back in. Robinson in traffic. Duncan out high. Johnson left alone. Ellis has the loose ball.
These are the kind of situations that they wanted to capitalize on, get easy opportunities. Greg Popovich fears Anthony Peeler because he made a lot of threes on him in a closing game down here in the Alamo Dome. But I think that Anthony Peeler has been struggling to close the season. Shouldn't worry so much about him.
Peeler, who's very streaky, is 0 for 5 in this game. Anderson finally connects. He averaged 15.5 for the season. That was his first field goal in game 1 of the playoffs.
And this is a backcourt that's got to produce something. Peeler and Phillips have got to get some offensive production for the Timberwolves while they're out on the floor. 9 on the clock for Garnett.
2 seconds to shoot. 24-second violation. Zerbiak should have put it up. He was unaware that the time was almost gone and tried to make the extra pass to Garnett. Too late.
Danny Ferry coming in the ball game. Sean Elliott goes out.
Philadelphia winning earlier on the Reggie Miller 3. I should have said Indiana at Philadelphia. And Utah holds on by 2 at home against Dallas. Robinson, short.
David Robinson going to pick up a foul.
That'll be his first. It comes with 6:51 to play in the second, and the Spurs up by 5.
But David Robinson has yet to find the mark from the outside, and then reaches in and gets a piece of Anthony Peeler for the personal.
The Spurs are among the favorites, as we mentioned, to win it. Some would say the favorite. But unlike past seasons, there is no clear-cut choice. Peeler missed, and the ball will go to San Antonio. For the first time in league history, 10 teams won 50 or more, and even an 8th seed like Minnesota managed to win 47. So there are a number of teams capable of either winning the title or, at the very least, derailing a title contender somewhere along the line.
Two things you have to have. You have to be on top of your game. You have to have a little good fortune, and we saw good fortune go in the way of Indiana this afternoon.
Robinson in traffic. Hits it off the window. 7 for the Admiral. These first-round matchups are especially perilous. Just best of 5. Zerbiak's shot spins out. Ellis on the glass. Can't hit the follow. And they award the ball to the Spurs.
Now, David Robinson has not been effective outside, but when he's been able to put it on the floor, kind of go up and under or spin, he's been effective. Gets that one off the window, his first 2 here in the second quarter. But, you know, Timberwolves got to make shots. They're not making shots, and that's what's holding them back right now. They're doing a good enough job defensively to stay in the game. Robinson gets the call again. That is a difficult part of the whole game for them. If you want to keep your defensive energy up, you got to see the ball going in the other way. So this is a critical stretch for them at both ends of the floor. Back to David Robinson,
who lost it. And then a foul on Danny Ferry as Anthony Peeler tried to come out of the backcourt. Greg Popovich told us before the game, you know, I just can't even bear to give Larry Brown a call tonight. To lose a game like that on your home floor, 1 seed against the 8 seed, to lead by 18, to lose on a 3 with less than 3 seconds to play. And now, after working all season for the #1 seed, you've lost home court advantage against the 8 seed. In a best of 5, you're down 0-1. And 2 of the remaining 4 games, if it goes that far, will be in Indianapolis.
But there is a reason that you are #1 and they are #8. And you might lose a game, but if you're as good as your record has proven, you should be able to come back. Ferry for 3.
This is what he's done all season long for them. He's hit 45% on threes. And in fact, since becoming a starter, he shot 50% from beyond the arc.
You know, as painful as it seems sometimes to the #1 seed to lose a game to a #8, the history says it's only happened twice. Nice steal. Porter
got out in front and Ferry found him. And just like that, the Spurs lead by a dozen. They're on a 9-0 run.
Manus, huh?
Manus, absolutely.
This is the newest.
Oh, it's mutual. Mod's my mainest man as well. Minnesota better find some kind of main man. They've been held to 1 field goal in the last 10.5 minutes, dating back to the latter stages of the first quarter, and it stays that way. Garnett misses, Robinson rebounds.
Yeah, they've got 3 points, all of them from Garnett, and that means Garnett may have to be more aggressive offensively. Take more shots, try to take some of the pressure off your teammates. Duncan is already in a good groove. They brought David Robinson into it. Derek Anderson with a miss.
Terrell Brandon tries to push it up the floor. It's poked away from behind. Minnesota will keep it. San Antonio was the best in the Western Conference in both total points allowed and field goal defense, and only the Knicks and Miami were ahead of them overall in the league. They held opponents to under 42% shooting for the season, and they've really put the clamps down on Minnesota here in the second quarter.
You know, the strength of Minnesota's game is outside in, so that doesn't affect them as much, but they've got to be able to knock down those perimeter shots. Peeler with a 3. First field goal of the afternoon for Anthony Peeler.
He shot just 1 for 8, but they needed that one. They're back to within 9. Terry Porter was fouled.
Terrell Brandon got off to a good start, but since his first opening moment, Brandon has been struggling to find a rhythm at both ends of the floor. Porter coming across, and you can see Brandon was behind him and chasing him, clipped him. Porter at the line.
Porter spent 3 seasons in Minnesota in the late 90s. Flip Saunders says one of the moves he most regrets is letting the veteran guard go.
Well, he was everything that they needed at the time, a professional who was willing to share his knowledge and experience with the younger players, play whatever role that they wanted, cause no problems. And they said, look, Terry, now why don't you just wait? We'll give Gugliotta all signed up, and then you can have what's left.
He said, no, I'll take the money Miami's offering right now. If he was there for a year, then to San Antonio. Garnett from 20.
So that's back-to-back buckets, and that's a sign of relief for Flip Saunders.
You look at these Spurs. They have strength offensively inside and now more than ever from the outside. They're excellent defensively. They've got the home court advantage. They have depth on their roster. And they have playoff experience and plenty of it. Porter leaning in and hitting.
Porter was looking for a foul, didn't get it, but that's 5 points in the quarter for Terry Porter. San Antonio will let you back in the game if you make San Antonio play from the outside. Even though they lead the league in three-point shooting, this is the team that goes into drought from the outside. And when they forget about Tim Duncan, as he touched the ball here in the quarter, they begin to struggle.
He's camped out beyond the arc for the moment. Now he's got it in the lane. What was that move? Something new. He yo-yoed it up there.
First 2 for Tim Duncan since re-entering the game.
8 for 10 from the floor in this first half. Peeler's off, but Garnett on the offensive glass was hammered. The shot doesn't drop, but Garnett will come to the line.
Duncan, who has an assortment of moves, was really in between shots, and he wanted to pass it and decided at the last minute, I may as well go ahead and drop it in. 21 in white has a huge advantage so far this afternoon over 21 in black. And Garnett knows he's got to match the effort at both ends of the floor, and he's behind.
He misses them both. He has 11 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He's missed 3 of 4 free throw tries.
And is talking to himself, and they come to Tim Duncan.
Robinson screens for him. Nesterovic has Duncan now on the switch. He pops it over him and hits.
Well, that was problems for Nesterovic, and you could tell by his body language he wasn't going to let him get by him, but he was willing to give that up, and Duncan is on fire.
You know what that body language really said? Oh, no. Why me? They slap it away from Garnett, but there's a San Antonio foul with 1:40 to play in the half, and the Spurs up by 14.
Well, maybe this is a scene from the Scary Movie, but he didn't want to be the guy that had to see Tim Duncan in front of him, and it turns out Duncan gets another 2. Garnett with the foul. See if he improves on his free throw attempts this time around. 20 points, 10 rebounds for Tim Duncan.
A double-double already. He led the league in double-doubles for the season. He had 66 of them. He's got it here in the first half.
I mean, Garnett is glistening. He is working hard out there. It'll be interesting to see how much energy he has in the second half. He's young, but the way he's working right now, he's going to be running out of gas about the end of the third quarter. Seven in the quarter for Kevin Garnett.
As he regains his touch at the foul line, hitting them both. A minute and a half to play. It was the Spurs by just 1 after 1. But they've opened it up here in this second quarter. Over Garnett, Duncan scores again. An MVP candidate, along with Iverson, Weber, and probably Shaq. 22 in the first half. Can Garnett answer? He can, +1.
Somebody's got a technical foul here.
Technical foul on Kevin Garnett.
Called on Garnett, who was ejected from a game for the first time in his career 6 days ago. You may have seen the game on NBC. He was not only tossed, but then made an obscene gesture and was fined $7,500 for that, which a modern NBA player takes out of his petty cash drawer.
Well, I think that's a taunting technical, but that's pretty cheap, because that was a big-time effort by Garnett to get that one up and down, and he had something to say afterwards, and he looked in the direction of Tim Duncan. Coming in across the lane, and he's going to get hit real good. Gets it anyway. And you'll see that, and then it's the explanation, but not enough, in my mind, to get a taunting technical.
Well, it didn't hurt them, because Anderson missed the tee. Unless, of course, Garnett picks up another one and has to sit for the rest of the game. You'll have to be careful now.
11-point game. Garnett picking up his offense. He's got 10 in the quarter.
Inside a minute. Duncan backing in, finding Anderson for 3.
That is when they shoot the good three-pointer. Defense collapsing, guy wide open, knocking down a 3.
Samaki Walker in for the first time. Fouls Nesterovic.
And watch the defense come to Tim Duncan. They react. He reads it perfectly. 2-3 guys come at him. Anderson wide open, money, and backpedaling.
Spurs not over the limit. Brandon pulls up and overshoots it.
Well, they got to get Brandon into the ball game. He's their number 2 scorer. He got off quickly. He has not been able to recover, and they need offense from him.
Kevin Garnett has hit 3 of 5 and scored 10 points in the second quarter for Minnesota. After Brandon's miss a moment ago, the rest of the team is 1 for 13 with 3 points in the period.
Well, Garnett's got to do his job, keep him in the ball game. You know, keep him close. It's 14 points now. Hopefully they can get another possession, score, and keep it within a reasonable range. Anderson.
Slashing through, ball knocked away, and touched last by San Antonio.
So Brandon puts the brakes on. They want to work for a one-shot, second differential between game and clock.
Brandon dribbling some time away. Porter watching it. Ferry on Zerbiak. Here's Peeler, 2 seconds to shoot. And a 24-second by.
Steal the ball, get some transition hoops, but they haven't been able to. Duncan.
Well, that won't help his field goal percentage. Forced to take one from beyond midcourt. They only asked for a 20-second timeout and didn't advance the ball to midcourt.
First half performance, he told me that they simply aren't doing any of the things they normally do well. He feels that they're getting plenty of open shots, but they're just not falling. The Timberwolves will try to move the ball around better and hopefully get Terrell Brandon back into the offense. Now, Spurs coach Greg Popovich told me that he's very pleased with the way that they got to Minnesota's shooters. He does feel, however, that they did not value the basketball enough. Gave it up 10 times. He wants to cut down on that in the second half. Back to you guys.
Well, they immediately turn it over on their first possession. They're 12th. Against only 4 for Minnesota. That's virtually the only statistical category that the T-Wolves led in the first half. Here's Garnett left alone, and the 20-footer spins out.
Well, what Garnett and teammates can hark and take some heart in is the fact that Indiana struggled in their first half and finally got going in the third quarter to make a game of it. So if they can stay close, they still have a chance, but they cannot give up the high percentage shot to Duncan or Robinson. David Robinson with an easy miss inside.
Robinson is on Garnett.
And, you know, as tough a first half as it seemed for Garnett, he ended up with 16. And his rival had 22. Rebound, Garnett.
Peeler missed. Garnett couldn't hit the follow, and now San Antonio has it back.
So if you were to say between the two superstars, you know, it was close enough. But he did not get enough help, meaning he and Kevin Garnett, from his teammates, and there was better balance for San Antonio in Wyatt.
Meanwhile, Anthony Peeler, who's capable of getting red hot and igniting a team, has shot 1 for 11 now in this game. Duncan backing in, dealing outside to Ferry for 3. Halfway down, it pops out.
But that's always been the nature of Peeler. He's very, very streaky. Good pass ahead to Dean Garrett, fouled by Duncan.
Garrett upset with himself that he didn't hit the basket to give himself a chance for a 3-point play.
Well, this is what they'd hoped to do. Beat the San Antonio Spurs down the floor, and this time they do it with the big man. Garrett with 2 opportunities from the line.
The foul on Duncan was his 3rd. And because of that, we'll probably see Robinson continuing to guard Garnett. Robinson has 2 fouls. Duncan has 1 more.
In either case, Garnett's got to be more aggressive in attacking both of those big guys. Try to put some fouls on them, make them aware of his ability to come to the basket and score from different situations.
The lead is 12. Early third quarter from San Antonio with Steve Jones and Andrea Joyce. Bob Costas filling in for Tom Hammond, who's on the shelf for just a while. He'll be back in a few weeks. Here's Brandon in those blue shoes around Porter to the rack.
And very quickly a timeout.
After less than 2 minutes of the third, Spurs ball as play resumes.
Now this is what Flip Saunders talked about, being able to come down, set up some sort of trap, force San Antonio, use time off the clock, force a turnover, get another cheap bucket. They didn't really pressure the ball, but San Antonio used some time. 8 on the clock for Anderson.
Misses on the run, but he was fouled.
Peeler. The snow is breaking in Minnesota, but I think he's stuck up there in a tundra somewhere because he is not here so far in the heat of San Antonio.
Foul comes before the shot. Spurs ball from the side. Anderson again. Garnett with the rebound.
Well, 3 straight misses, so at least they're doing a better job of making San Antonio, who shot 58% in the first half, come off that high percentage.
It's Duncan on Garnett. Takes him to the baseline, slings it outside to Peeler. 5 seconds to shoot, and Peeler leans in and finally connects.
So it's an 8-point ball game.
A welcome hoop for Peeler, who's now 2 for 12.
Whenever they get in trouble, they come back to Duncan. Perfect pass from Robinson. He sealed Garnett on his hip and got it right underneath the bucket to break the run.
First basket of the third quarter for Duncan, 24 for the game.
So you want to know how to spell relief? T-I-M. Don't forget it, Bob.
I'll keep it in mind. Garnett got around Robinson, but the Admiral got a piece of the ball, but also a piece of Garnett.
This is a great play from Robinson to Duncan because Robinson recognizes a position and finishes the play. And it looks like David Robinson got a piece of that ball and looked like a good block, but they say no. The hand is part of the ball.
Now Robinson and Duncan each have 3 fouls.
Well, if you're Kevin Garnett and you can dance by David Robinson this easily, go at it again. Oh, Big Dave. I used to get that one all the time. That's what happens when you get old. They take things away from you.
This San Antonio team, good as it is, does have some age on it. Robinson, Porter, Ferry, Elliott, Johnson, and Kerr, all in the league between 11 and 16 years. Some of these guys have been around so long, and they get athletes' feet. They reach for the Absorbine Senior. Here's Duncan, double team.
9 on the clock.
Porter. He'll come to the line.
Now, this is one of the things you learn as you become a senior citizen, how to draw fouls. And Terry Porter pumping, and gets that one up. And Terrell Brandon said, I didn't touch the guy.
Porter gets the roll on the first. The running of the Roses, the 127th Kentucky Derby, coming to NBC for the first time ever on May 5th. That's just 2 weeks away. California Super Horse Point Given is the heavy favorite to win it all at Churchill Downs.
Just 4 points in 4 minutes for the San Antonio Spurs. So with Malik Rose in the game replacing David Robinson, the Wolves have a shot.
Dean Garrett left alone, hits from the head of the key. David Robinson, after committing his 3rd foul a moment ago, sat down. Malik Rose has come in to replace him.
One of the problems, Bob, for Flip Saunders, he didn't get his Kentucky Fried Chicken, and that's part of his pregame ritual. So he's just now arriving on the scene and coaching.
That and listening to Barry White. Duncan, who's had the radar going all game, hit the side of the glass. He'll try it again from long range to beat the shot clock, but it's a 24-second violation.
When you make shots, you get better defensive energy, and that's what we've seen from the Timberwolves here at the top of the 3rd quarter of play. So they've been up, they've been challenging. 4 points have been thrown at them, and only one real breakdown with Tim Duncan right at the rim.
T-Wolves very much in it, down by only 8. Porter on Brandon, crossover. Keeler saves the turnover, misses off the baseline, got his own rebound.
And you see the hesitation, this herky-jerky style of Brandon. When he can get by Porter, that makes everything else easier for the Timberwolves. Looking to Garnett against Rose.
Here's Peeler. Now he's hit 2 in a row. Spurs led by 14 at the half. Just over 5 minutes into the third quarter, that's been trimmed to 6.
They're doubling, dropping back in the lap of Tim Duncan, making him go against some pressure. Another miss.
And the 5'11" Brandon gets inside for the rebound.
They got a mismatch, Garnett and Rose, but Rose will not let the Wolves see an angle to get him the ball.
Keeler. He was feeling it, but he misfires after hitting 2 straight. Duncan against Garnett. And Garnett comes in for the block. Here's Brandon slicing through.
As if they are stuck in mud, the San Antonio Spurs and their crowd here at the Alamo Dome stunned. 4-point game.
14-4 Minnesota in the quarter. Duncan is short. Back comes Brandon. Keeler cuts it to 2.
Who is this guy, Anthony Peeler?
Just as the 8th-seeded Pacers came from 18 down to make a game of it, and in their case eventually win it against the top-seeded 76ers earlier today. Here are the T-Wolves down by 14 and now back to within 2. Duncan, who's missed his last 4. Antonio Daniels in the lane, double pumps and gets the roll.
Daniels replacing Derek Anderson, who's had a tough time here in his first playoff game, really getting any kind of rhythm. Garnett again with the mismatch inside if they can get him the ball against Malik Rose. 9 on the clock.
Minnesota had been on an 8-0 run until that basket. Keeler had it knocked away. It's still Minnesota ball, 3 on the shot clock.
Anthony Peeler started this drive and really didn't have any idea where he wanted to go and what he wanted to do when he got there. They're fortunate to get the ball back with 3 on the shot clock.
Duncan knocking it away from behind. The quick inbound to Garrett, and Dean Garrett converts.
Suddenly, Dean Garrett and the center position becoming an effective story for Flip Saunders. Garrett with 6 1/4. Watch out.
Duncan from Johnson into traffic, and he was fouled.
Garrett puts his hand up. Garnett puts his hand up, and they give the foul to Dean Garrett,
which is his 3rd. David Robinson has been nursing a bad back. He sat out the season's last regular season game against Seattle. He'll often have a heat pad put on the back when he comes out of the game, and sometimes he'll go to the locker room if he's going to be out for a few minutes, and they'll put him through some stretching exercises just to try to keep that back loose.
Well, I asked Greg Popovich before the game how was he going to use him, because he's always been very concerned about the minutes, but he said, hey, I'm going to go with David and take my chances today. Duncan with a couple of free throws. So Robinson should be coming back in the ball game. Keeler on the raid.
Keeler turned the corner, but the shot wouldn't stay down for him. Antonio Daniels' pass knocked away by the hustling Keeler at the other end.
Well, Peeler's a wild card, and you see the pain on his face, and it's really from missing that one that close at the other end of the floor. But when he gets on these streaks, he certainly can hurt his opponent.
Antonio Daniels. Avery Johnson back to Daniels. Misses the 3. Here's Minnesota trailing by only 4. Garnett makes it 2.
So Garnett now at 20. with his 4th point of the 3rd quarter.
Duncan out to Avery Johnson, left alone. In their championship season of 1999, Avery Johnson so often hit that very shot when opposing defenses neglected him.
Well, they still dare Avery Johnson to be consistent and knock that shot down. I mean, for most of the latter stages of his career, he's improved, and he is tough enough to where he will step up under the gun and knock that shot down.
A foul on Malik Rose, his 3rd.
You know, at the break, there was a 6-point differential between Kevin Garnett and Tim Duncan. And with this one, from the corner, Garnett moves to 20 and closes the distance. Here's a guy that hasn't had many chances since the 1st quarter. 2 on the clock.
Peeler gets it away and misses it long, but it bounces to Garnett, who deals to Garrett, and Dean Garrett's jumper won't drop. Here's Zerbiak. He'll bring it back out.
Minnesota, better effort on the glass, and one of the reasons they've been able to get themselves back in the ball game.
Good ball movement. Peeler was just a step inside the line and hits a 2-pointer, giving him 11.
And that's a team, because they believe in Anthony Peeler. They've been giving him chances to keep shooting that ball when he hasn't really been that good this afternoon, suddenly getting into the ball game, 8 in the quarter. But they are starting to come to Duncan, trying to make him shoot the ball further out, work harder for it, and they're going to get a foul. Wally Zerbiak.
Duncan was surrounded by 3 defenders. Zerbiak fouled him.
Yeah, Peeler started the quarter, and he was 1 for 10. And in that time, he has found some shooting rhythm and starting to make an impact on the ball game.
That little roll of the shoulders, which he's gone to in recent weeks, trying to find some kind of rhythm at the line.
Tim Duncan missing only 1 of 5 here in the 2nd half of the ball game. As Kevin Garnett has picked up his energy. Garnett goes out of the ball game. LaFonso Ellis in with the 2nd free throw of Tim Duncan.
And he got them both. Back to a 4-point lead, 1:50 on the clock.
Now they got a mismatch. Zerbiak, Johnson, and Wally made them pay for this in the 1st half. Whoa! Lucky to get that one away, and it's a high dribble that goes in.
9 points now for Zerbiak. Did you play against his dad, Walt, in the old ABA? He was with the Pittsburgh Condors.
Yes, I did.
And your recollections of Walt Zerbiak?
Well, anybody that played on Pittsburgh had a tough time.
Sean Elliott misses the 3.
With the exception of Connie Hawkins in that 1st year, Pittsburgh was a franchise that lost a lot, and their big-time scorer was John Brisker, and you know the story of John Brisker.
A man you didn't want to cross, John Brisker. Here's Minnesota looking for the tie. And it's Zerbiak, who's bumped by Malik Rose.
Now, look at this and tell me, is this good fortune or not? And this is the kind of thing that helps you win. This ball is out of his hands very quickly. Tim Duncan barely reacting to the quick release.
Well, as Duncan closed ground on him, Zerbiak thought, well, I better get rid of this somehow. Little sleight of hand. The foul on Malik Rose, who's always been foul prone, was his 4th. Brandon slips to the floor and recovers. 4 seconds to shoot. Zerbiak ties the game at 63. They've made up 14 points in this third quarter. And now it's Avery Johnson who loses his footing.
Now without Duncan, they're going to have a tough time scoring. And they turn it over. Peeler there with the catch.
Here comes Serbiak back in a hurry, and Johnson just reaches in and wraps him up.
Number 6, Avery Johnson is second in the penalty.
Now, early in the ball game, the turnovers were unforced. Now the defense has had more to say about some of the mistakes that San Antonio has made. And Wally Szczerbiak will go to the line. But their energy is up, and you can see making shots has made a difference for them. Came right across the middle, beating Sean Elliott, and right back at the line. So it could be 6 straight points for Wally Szczerbiak.
How about this? Minnesota has taken the lead with 10 seconds to play in the third.
With the events of the day today, Bob, I am not surprised. Garrett out.
Nesterovic in. A 16-point swing now in this third quarter.
I'm sure that Greg Popovich knew that they would make a run, but he didn't want to see it all evaporate.
Daniels could have gotten them the lead back, but his three is off as the third quarter ends. Not only have the Timberwolves taken the lead, but to a certain extent, and Captain Late, James Silas, Mr. K, Larry Keenan, the always popular Kobe Dietrich, they love their Spurs here.
And the very, very boisterous baseline bums. Well, they got rid of the bums, but they'll need some noise here to help the San Antonio Spurs finish off this game. They've lost their momentum. 5 on the clock.
Sam Mitchell can't hit. Robinson back in for the rebound.
You know, during that break, Greg Popovich told his team, you know, I don't care about the shots that you've missed. I care about the defense that we're not playing and the rebounds that they're getting. They're the aggressors. It's the playoffs. You got to step up.
Nice move by Avery Johnson to tie the game at 65. Garnett over Robinson. Antonio Daniels has it. Daniels had it poked away into the hands of Peeler.
As nice looking as those shoes are, Bob, he cannot do anything but skate. 2 times. He fell down. They could have had a fast break if he'd been able to hold his feet.
Yeah, Peeler was looking for Brandon. But whether it's those space age shoes or what, Brandon fell down. Now he misses the shot.
You know, when San Antonio won their championship, they came off the floor a lot of times to beat teams. This year, this team hasn't been put under that kind of gun. So as they start their drive for this championship, it'll be interesting to see how they respond to pressure. LaFonso Ellis picking up the foul.
When Greg Popovich's team won the title in 1999, they went through the playoffs 15-2. They went into the playoffs last year without Tim Duncan, and they were bumped in the first round by Phoenix. San Antonio takes the lead back by 1. Coming up next on NBC, $1 million on the line in the XFL championship game. The San Francisco Demons and the LA Extremes split 2 games during the regular season. The big payoff in sight tonight. They lock horns in the all-or-nothing rubber match. $1 million on the line. The XFL championship next on NBC.
Well, the shrug is worth 1 of 2 for Tim Duncan. 1-point advantage for them. But, you know, when you talk about their championship run, Popovich still believes that these Timberwolves gave him one of the toughest series that they had in winning the title. Miss Peeler.
Well, they lost only 2 games, as we said in that postseason. One of them here on this floor to Minnesota. And they lost one game in the finals against the Knicks, game 3 at Madison Square Garden.
Anderson back in the ball game. David Robinson was wide open. They missed him.
Derek Anderson for 3. He has not had one of his better games.
Well, David Robinson said what this team has been very good at is, getting other players to step up and focus on the win. Sam Mitchell, that is his money shot. Down on the baseline, knocks that jumper in.
Minnesota by 1. Duncan into a crowd and then in their face.
Found
31 for Duncan.
He found his way back into his office on that play. I mean, they've been keeping him outside, making it tough for him to get shots, but that one, an overpowering effort.
Mitchell misses. Johnson back. Robinson on the reverse. But it won't drop for him. Garnett given room by Robinson. Can't hit it. Flat-footed rebound to the Admiral.
That's a sense of a little bit of fatigue on Kevin Garnett's part. You got to work a little bit harder at this stage of the game to get a better scoring opportunity.
Inside 8 minutes. Here's Derek Anderson. Off-balance shot. Duncan almost had the rebound, but couldn't hold on. It was touched last by San Antonio. Missed of leads, 68-67. Ticking down towards 7.5 minutes to play in the 4th.
And what Greg Popovich wants his team to do is be more aggressive, be more physical out there, and try to close this ball game out.
Minnesota turns it over.
Oh, the shot
of 14 seems like a reasonable place to start, and they will. Duncan had it stripped away. Here comes Brandon. Serviak on his right. Brandon goes all the way. Tough hoop.
Nice bucket by Brandon right under the arm and from a tough angle against Derek Anderson.
Minnesota reclaims the lead by 1.
Now they're forcing Duncan further out on the floor to have to catch that ball. 9 on the clock for Avery Johnson.
His jumper from the baseline isn't there. Dean Garrett is for the rebound. Brandon.
Big rebound, Felipe Lopez. He thought he was going to be able to catch it and throw it back down. Didn't have control. Wow. Came back anyway.
And came up empty. Derek Anderson hooked from behind by Brandon. The basket's not going to count. The officials are conferring, but for the moment, the basket does not count.
Derek Anderson on the fly, and they're saying he was fouled somewhere a week ago, and the shot should not have been continuation, as you saw Terrell Brandon reach in and grab him, and they're all saying, and 1. There's a foul. So a good call by the official. Oh, now they changed their mind? He got talked into it?
And Flip Saunders is beside himself. They count the basket for Anderson and send him to the line with a chance for a three-point play, and there it is.
I want to know who that guy is. We need to send him to Washington. He can change things around that quickly.
Astute political commentary offered by the snapper. Here's Garnett, surrounded. Scores anyway, plus the foul.
under the gun. This shot by Garnett is huge as both twin towers are around him. Robinson on one side, Duncan in his face. Garnett gets it up and down to tie the game.
The foul on Robinson, his fourth. Three-point play. T-Wolves back in front.
Very athletic and quick Felipe Lopez dogging Derek Anderson, making him use more time. So San Antonio has not had as much time to set up their offense, get the ball inside, foul Terrell Brandon outside.
The crowd at the Alamo Dome now wants everything. They want the continuation on that too, but that one was not in dispute. Toward the end of the day, what Indiana did at the beginning. Come in on an 8 seed and upend the number 1 seed on its home floor in the series opener. Here's Danny Ferry, quick release. Garnett takes the rebound on the bounce. The Spurs, the leading three-point shooting team in the league, hit all 3 three-pointers they tried in the first half. They're 0 for 6 from that range in the second half. And here's Terrell Brandon putting it down.
And that is a huge shot for the Wolves. And Brandon, he is a great perimeter jump shooter, and that's the first one he's made since the first quarter.
Just 3 points, but it's Minnesota's biggest lead of the game.
Again, well, when they get in trouble, they go to Tim Duncan, and they've had trouble getting Duncan the ball down and deep. Going one-on-one against Garnett. David Robinson on the other side.
Robinson with just 9 brings his team to within 1. Exactly 5 minutes left.
They like to pick and roll and isolate with Brandon over there, back to back.
2-point field goal, 3-point lead.
Brandon saying, if I can make 1, I can make 2. Watch out, Terry Porter.
14 for Brandon.
Trying to come back as the Garnett fronted, and they call.
It goes against San Antonio.
On the previous possession, Duncan went down deep and against the defense overlaid it, but David Robinson was on the other side. But you see the darting, dancing Terrell Brandon come up with the 2.
Garnett raised his hand as if the foul was on him, but they called it on Duncan. Duncan now has 4 fouls. Brandon again. This one's off.
He's starting to get that love and feeling, though. That's 3 straight. He came down on his own trying to close them out.
2. With 4 of a possible 5 home games going to the higher seeded team. Why do you play 82 games to be the number 1 seed in the conference and then possibly lose one of the first 2 at home and cough up everything you worked for to the 8th seed? What does the regular season mean?
Well, you know, every now and then you get an upset, and the history of this particular format has proven that number 8 rarely gets out of that bracket. I mean, there have been a lot of times where you've had to go to 5, but the number 1 team has won. I think it's a fair matchup. I don't think you should give the number 1 team or the number 2 team 4 games at home. They should be good enough to put this opponent away. Anderson
for 3. To tie it at 76. 4 minutes remaining.
Otherwise, Bob, why play the playoffs if you're going to give the good team 4 games?
Brandon misses. Ferry rebounds. Porter sprints out. San Antonio takes the lead. Brandon comes to the front court and asks for time.
Shot by Derek Anderson to tie the ball game up, and that energized after getting the lead. Popovich trying to urge his team on with some defensive energy and then get the missed shot.
Wally Zerbiak out to Brandon. Here's Dean Garrett, big shot. Robinson ran at him, but Garrett put it down.
Dean Garrett lives in Houston, got friends over here and said, remember my name. And big hoop to tie it.
He scored 10. Part of a platoon of centers that Flip Saunders has thrown at the Spurs. Anderson knifes through, throws up an off-balance shot, and he was fouled.
Derek Anderson has become more aggressive here in the closing moments of the game, and maybe he's finally settled down and looking like the Derek Anderson had played against the T-Wolves in the regular season, but that was an aggressive, hard drive. Pair of free throws to break the tie.
The foul was on Peeler, his third. It sends Derek Anderson in his fourth NBA season out of Kentucky to the line for 2. And although the Clippers are a greatly improved team over the last couple of years with some good young talent on the roster, you know that Anderson is a happy man to be out of a perpetually rebuilding situation and on to a title contender. He makes 1 of 2, and the Spurs lead by 1.
7.25 for Derek Anderson. Now Brandon came down, made a couple in a row, missed a couple. Now he looks a little reluctant to shoot. He's still got to keep the pressure on. Let's see if they find Kevin Garnett. Garnett got to drive this.
Ron Garretson blows his whistle before Garnett made his move to the hoop. That's going to be 5 on Robinson. Minnesota ball on the side.
14 on the clock, but you got to come back to Garnett with the idea. Drive David Robinson. He's going to try to make a play on you, and they feel that as long as they have Duncan, they can lose him if they have an advantage on the scoreboard. 6 on the clock.
4 seconds to shoot. Brandon going to have to force it. And here's Peeler saving it back for a fresh 24.
See, players aren't coachable. You heard all the instructions that guy gave him. He said you got to get the stop and then you got to get the rebound. They don't do it. Brandon.
Terrell Brandon coming up big in this second half. Finally getting the feel of those blue shoes, getting comfortable, settling in.
1-point game. They'll be looking for Tim Duncan.
It's Robinson stripped away. It's Peeler with another big play. And the saving pass to Zerbiak, but Porter cuts in front. Almost took it away. Brandon now. He's cut by Anderson, and Brandon goes down and asks for timeout.
Well, you know, he's always had weak ankles, and the left ankle has always been his troublesome one.
But he did it anyway, and Brandon's in some pain.
You know, brand new boots, but he steps right on the foot of Derek Anderson.
2 minutes to play as Garnett receives the pass.
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Anthony Peeler lost it. Here's San Antonio down by 1. Derek Anderson. Robinson took it away from Zerbiak. Zerbiak and Garrett were both there. Either one could have had it. They may have jostled each other off the ball for a split second, and Robinson was there to grab it.
Huge putback for Robinson and the Spurs. 1-point game.
Deafening noise at the Alamo Dome. Garrett. Rebound to Duncan. 1:15.
On the clock, and Duncan trying to get it back inside to David Robinson. Now it's a weave.
4 seconds to shoot. Porter will. Terry Porter, at age 38, in his 16th year in the NBA, still in pursuit of his first championship ring. Gives San Antonio a 3-point lead. Robinson with the big play just prior to it. Now with the shot clock running down, 4 seconds to shoot. Left. Terrell Brandon out of the backcourt.
Well, he's gimping now. That ankle is bothering him, and what they need is a bucket. They need to try to score one very quickly, and they don't want it to come from the outside. 11 on the clock.
Here's Garrett. Dean Garrett can't hit. The rebound is taken by Duncan. Maybe they should have fouled him right away, but they didn't do it.
Well, they didn't think about it, and they think that they can get the stop and come back and make a big 3-point play. 13 on the clock.
Five seconds to shoot. Duncan turns to face the hoop. 2 seconds, lets it go, and that may have sealed it. He uses the the glass in that throwback style, as he so often does. 33 for Tim Duncan.
Well, Tim Duncan had only 3 points in the quarter up until the biggest hoop of the ball game for him and the San Antonio Spurs to give him a 5-point advantage. He rarely celebrates, but the celebration is on.
Duncan getting a little freaky out there.
That's what they settled for, and you know, if you're going to advance out of that first round, your big players got to make the big plays.
Sam Mitchell missed, but somehow the ball bounced in.
Garnett gets credit.
Garnett got a piece of it almost inadvertently, and a foul in the backcourt.
He was the closest player to the missed shot, so they're going to give him credit for the tip. We don't know whether it was his hand or San Antonio Spurs, as Mitchell misses. That bounced off the hand of, I think, Tim Duncan.
So it keeps the Timberwolves' rather slim hopes alive. A gift basket to cut it to 3 with 6.6 seconds.
And Daniels needs to make at least one of these. To make it a 2-possession game. Gets the first. A sensational start and just an even finish, but the big hoop and one off the window to give him the 5-point edge.
Mitchell pegs it into Zerbiak, who's fouled by Derek Anderson.
Derek Anderson, his first in the last 2 minutes. First in the last.
They're not over the limit. They had a foul to give. So not a bad play. And Zerbiak will throw it in with 5.4 seconds remaining.
See, they're playing off of the ball, and they're going to make him make a tough play. They don't catch it. That's going to do it.
And that's it. As they have virtually every time this year, Minnesota is very competitive with San Antonio. But in the end, it's the Spurs, the #1 seed, that wins it 87-82, and they take a 1-0 lead in the best-of-5 series. For Steve Jones and Andrea Joyce, I'm Bob Costas. So long from San Antonio. Now let's go out to L.A. for the $1 million game for the XFL championship between the San